I never thought my journey to financial stability would turn into a battle for my family's safety. Growing up with the dream of security, I was proud to finally provide for those I loved. But that dream twisted into a nightmare when my own flesh and blood couldn't take no for an answer. What started as occasional help spiraled into relentless demands, and when I finally drew the line, they crossed every boundary imaginable. Before I dive into how my own family turned against me, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to make tough choices with family. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. I grew up in a small working-class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. My dad, a construction worker, brought home inconsistent paychecks depending on the season and available projects. Mom worked 3 part-time jobs just to keep food on the table. We never went hungry, but there was always this cloud of financial anxiety hanging over our home. From an early age, I watched my parents scramble to pay bills. The constant stress in their eyes whenever an unexpected expense came up left a deep impression on me. I remember promising myself I would break this cycle. I wanted financial stability more than anything, not just to live comfortably, but to never experience that gnawing fear my parents carried. I studied relentlessly through high school and managed to secure a partial scholarship to Illinois State University. Even with the scholarship, college was a constant hustle. I worked 2 part-time jobs while maintaining a full course load in computer science. Some nights I survived on 3 hours of sleep, but I never complained. Every exhausting day was a step toward my goal. After graduation, I landed an entry-level position at a growing tech company. The starting salary wasn't impressive, but it was stable, something my family had never experienced. I rented a tiny studio apartment and lived frugally, saving every extra dollar. Within 3 years, my hard work paid off with 2 promotions. By 28, I had moved to Seattle for a senior developer position that doubled my salary. I remember calling my parents with the news, their pride evident even through the phone. Dad's voice cracked when he said, "You did it, Guadalupe. You really broke the cycle." That first year in Seattle was magical. I put a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom house, the first property anyone in my family had ever owned. I met Julia at a company event, and we fell hard for each other. She was a graphic designer with her own small business dreams and understood my drive for security. We married after 18 months of dating, and within 3 years welcomed our children, Logan and Sophia. Those early days of parenthood, despite the sleepless nights, were filled with a sense of accomplishment I had never imagined possible. We had a beautiful home, healthy children, and careers we loved. I had achieved everything I had dreamed of growing up. The financial requests from family started small. Dad needed help with an unexpected car repair. My younger brother, Adam, lost his job and needed 2 months of rent covered. My sister Katie had a medical bill she could not pay. These were legitimate emergencies, and I was happy to help. The gratitude in their voices made me feel like I was fulfilling my purpose, using my success to support the people who had supported me. When I received another promotion to management, my salary jumped significantly again. I was now earning more than everyone in my extended family combined. This success should have been purely celebrated, but it marked the beginning of a subtle shift in my family dynamics. The occasional emergency requests became regular expectations. What started as gratitude transformed into entitlement. Each time I sent money, the thank yous grew shorter, and the next request came quicker. Still, I continued helping, telling myself this was what successful family members were supposed to do. The transformation from occasional help to expected support happened, so gradually I barely noticed the shift. My father began calling with medical expenses that seemed suspicious. When I gently asked about his insurance coverage, he became defensive, saying, "After all we sacrificed for you, you're questioning me now." That became a common refrain. After all we've done for you, it was emotional leverage that worked every time. They would invoke specific childhood memories. Remember when we drove 8 hours to see your college graduation? Or remember how mom worked double shifts to buy your first computer? Each memory was carefully selected to maximize guilt. Adam, my younger brother, took a different approach. He would call with excitement about a new business venture asking for startup capital. This is it, Guadalupe. This business will make me self-sufficient and I'll pay you back double. I funded 3 such ventures in 2 years. None lasted longer than 4 months, and repayment was never mentioned again. My sister Katie had mastered the art of urgency. Her calls always came late at night with a crisis that needed immediate resolution, an eviction notice, a car about to be repossessed, a utility shutoff. When I suggested planning ahead for these expenses, she would cry, saying, "I did not understand how hard life was for normal people." The requests extended beyond my immediate family. Cousins needed help with college tuition. An uncle wanted to renovate his kitchen. My parents' neighbors needed dental work. Somehow, I had become the family bank. The manipulation tactics grew more sophisticated. Family members would make requests in front of others, making it impossible to decline without public embarrassment. They coordinated their approach. If I refused one person, another would call the next day with a modified request. They timed asks around my paydays and bonuses information I had never directly shared. Julia noticed the pattern long before I did. "They're using you," she said. One night, after I had transferred $3,000 to my father for roof repairs, "When was the last time any of them called just to check on you?" Or the kids I dismissed her concerns, insisting family takes care of family. But her words planted a seed of doubt. The impact on our own finances became impossible to ignore. We had to postpone home renovations. Our planned family trip to Yellowstone was canceled. Our savings growth had stalled. One evening, Logan asked why we could not go to space camp when we have so much money to give to everyone else. His innocent observation hit me hard. The first serious confrontation came when I questioned my father about a $12,000 medical procedure. I had researched his insurance policy and knew it should have been covered. His reaction was explosive. He accused me of monitoring his personal business and reminded me that real men take care of their families without questions. Adam was worse when I declined to fully fund his 4th business idea, offering half the requested amount instead. He showed up at my home unannounced, shouting that I had become too good for the family and was showing off by keeping money for myself. He left only when Julia threatened to call the police. Katie stopped speaking to me for 2 months when I asked about repayment of previous loans. When she finally called again, it was for another emergency with no acknowledgement of our previous conversation. One rainy Seattle evening, I sat down with our financial records and calculated the total. In 3 years, I had given my family over $95,000, almost a third of my after-tax income. Seeing the number in black and white made me physically ill. The breaking point came unexpectedly. Julia discovered we were significantly behind on our retirement savings goals while reviewing our annual financial summary. The next day, our financial advisor warned that at our current rate, we might not have enough for both retirement and the children's college funds. The advisor's concerned expression mirrored the worry I had seen in my parents' eyes throughout my childhood. That weekend, during a family dinner at my parents' house, my father casually announced his plan to retire early the following year. "Guadalupe will help us out until Social Security kicks in," he said confidently, not even looking at me for confirmation. The room nodded in agreement, as if my financial support was a settled matter. I sat frozen, the weight of their expectations suffocating me. That night, I could not sleep. My heart raced with anxiety as I calculated how much supporting my retired parents would cost on top of the regular requests from siblings and extended family. For the first time, I saw clearly that this path would eventually bankrupt us, financially and emotionally. The next day, I called my best friend Thomas, who had been watching this situation unfold for years. "You know this is financial abuse, right?" he said bluntly. "They're exploiting your success and guilt to fund their lifestyle." He recommended resources about financial exploitation within families, which I devoured over the next week. Julia and I scheduled an appointment with a therapist who specialized in family dynamics. In those sessions, I began to understand how deeply my sense of self-worth was tied to providing for others. The therapist helped me see that true generosity comes from choice, not obligation or manipulation. Together with Julia, I created a detailed financial plan focusing on our nuclear family's future, retirement college funds, emergency savings, and quality of life. The numbers were clear. Continuing to support extended family at the current level would eventually leave us in financial distress. The therapist helped me practice setting boundaries. We role-played difficult conversations, preparing for emotional manipulation and guilt trips. After weeks of preparation, I felt ready to have the conversation with my family. I invited my parents, brother, and sister to our home for a formal discussion. I carefully explained our financial situation, our concerns for our children's future, and my decision to stop the regular financial support. I offered to help in true emergencies and suggested resources for financial planning and assistance programs. I emphasized my love for them and my desire for healthier relationships not centered around money. The initial reaction was eerily calm. They listened quietly, nodding occasionally. For a brief moment, I thought they understood. Then my father stood up. "So this is who you really are," he said coldly. "After everything we did to get you where you are, you turn your back on us." My mother began to cry silently. Adam paced the room, muttering about betrayal. Katie stared at her phone, refusing to make eye contact. My father delivered the final blow before walking out. "You will regret this decision, Guadalupe. Family is forever, and so is what you owe us." They left without further discussion. A week of silence followed, giving me false hope that perhaps they were processing and accepting my decision. That silence was merely the calm before the storm. The harassment began with a coordinated barrage of calls and text messages. My phone would light up at all hours with messages ranging from guilt trips to outright threats. "Your children will learn what a selfish father they have," read one text from Adam. "Mom cried all night because of you," said another from Katie. When I began screening calls, they moved to social media. Posts appeared describing me as an ungrateful son who abandoned his family after achieving success. Distant relatives and childhood friends I had not spoken to in years started reaching out, asking why I had turned my back on the people who raised me. The workplace invasion started next. My father appeared unannounced at my office, demanding to speak with me. Security had to escort him out. Katie showed up during a client meeting, creating a scene in the reception area, shouting about family loyalty. My boss called me in to express concern about these personal issues affecting the workplace. I discovered that my cousin, who worked at our family bank, had been accessing my account information and sharing details about our finances with the family. This explained how they always seemed to know when I received bonuses or raises. Adam's late-night visit to our home crossed a dangerous line. Clearly intoxicated, he pounded on our door at 11 p.m., waking the children. Through the security camera, I watched him shouting that I was dead to the family and that I would pay for my betrayal. We did not open the door, and he eventually left when neighbors threatened to call police. The most disturbing escalation targeted my children. On a Tuesday morning, I was in the middle of presenting to executive leadership when my phone exploded with calls from Sophia's school. The school secretary explained frantically that someone claiming to be my brother had called saying there was a family emergency and Sophia needed to be released immediately to a waiting family friend. Thankfully, the school followed protocol and verified with me before releasing my daughter. The following week, a similar call came to Logan's school, this time claiming there had been an accident and Logan needed to be picked up. Again, the school verified with me first, but the psychological damage was done. My children became anxious about school, constantly fearing something bad would happen. My professional reputation came under attack when someone, I strongly suspect Adam, called my company's ethics hotline, claiming I was embezzling funds. Although the accusation was quickly disproven, the investigation was humiliating and stressful. Colleagues looked at me differently afterward, the whispers following me through the office. Julia's small design business suffered when dozens of fake negative reviews appeared online overnight. Clients began canceling, and her steady income stream faltered. The stress triggered anxiety attacks so severe, she had difficulty working at all. The most devastating attack came in the form of an anonymous report to Child Protective Services. The report claimed we were neglecting our children, not providing adequate food, leaving them alone for extended periods, and emotionally abusing them. The subsequent home inspection and interviews with our children were traumatic for everyone. The case was quickly dismissed as unfounded, but the damage to our sense of security was profound. Just when we thought it could not get worse, a second CPS report appeared 2 weeks later with new, even more outrageous allegations. This time, the investigator seemed skeptical from the start, noting the pattern of harassment we had documented. The toll on our family was severe. Logan developed nightmares and began struggling in school. Sophia became withdrawn and fearful of answering the phone or door. Julia's anxiety attacks worsened, affecting her physical health. I developed insomnia and panic disorders, jumping at every notification on my phone. The financial impact compounded our stress. Legal consultations, security system upgrades, therapy for the children, and time away from work all drained our resources, precisely what I had been trying to prevent by setting boundaries in the first place. After the second CPS report, Julia and I realized we needed to fight back strategically. The passive approach of just documenting incidents was not enough. We needed to actively protect our family. Our first step was physical security. We installed comprehensive security cameras around our property, covering every possible approach to our home. We changed all our locks and added a security gate at the driveway entrance. The garage door opener codes were reprogrammed, and we installed motion sensor lighting around the perimeter. Next, we secured our children's environment. I met with administrators at both schools to implement strict protocols. The children could only be released to Julia or me with no exceptions. Password systems were established for phone communications, and both schools were provided with photographs of family members who were not authorized to have contact with the children. We found a family attorney who specialized in harassment cases. She helped us organize all the evidence we had been collecting: text messages, voicemails, security footage, witness statements, and police reports. She was shocked by the volume and intensity of the harassment, but assured us we had a strong case for restraining orders. We filed separate police reports for each significant incident. Initially, some officers were dismissive, viewing it as merely a family dispute. But as the pattern of escalation became clear, especially with the school incidents and CPS reports, they began taking our concerns seriously. Our attorney sent formal cease and desist letters to each family member involved in the harassment. Most ignored them, but the letters established a paper trail showing we had tried reasonable measures before pursuing legal action. Adam violated the cease and desist order the very next day by showing up at my office again. This time, he was arrested for trespassing. This incident became the foundation for our first restraining order, which a judge granted immediately due to the clear pattern of harassment and the potential danger to my workplace. The court hearing for the broader restraining orders was one of the most difficult days of my life. My entire immediate family appeared, presenting themselves as victims of my abandonment. They brought photos of my childhood, spoke of sacrifices they had made, and portrayed me as an ungrateful son who had achieved success and then discarded the people who helped him get there. When my attorney presented our evidence, the threatening messages, security footage, school incident reports, and CPS investigations. Their story began to crumble. The judge, after reviewing everything, asked my father directly if he had coordinated these actions. To my shock, he admitted it, justifying it as doing whatever necessary to make Guadalupe understand his responsibility to family. The judge's ruling was decisive. 3-year restraining orders were granted against my parents, brother, and sister, prohibiting any contact with me, Julia, or our children. They were barred from coming within 500 feet of our home workplaces or the children's schools. The judge also ordered them to pay our legal fees and stated clearly that any violation would result in immediate arrest. As they left the courtroom, my father turned to me and said something I will never forget. Family owes each other everything. You have betrayed the most sacred bond their island. In that moment, I realized how fundamentally different our views of family were. To me, family meant mutual respect, support, and love, not unlimited financial obligation and blind obedience. The months following the restraining orders were focused on healing. The children began therapy with a counselor specializing in family trauma. Logan's nightmares gradually subsided, and Sophia slowly regained her outgoing personality. Julia joined a support group for spouses dealing with family estrangement, which helped her process the guilt she felt for coming between me and my family, a narrative my parents had pushed. We installed additional security measures at home, creating what the children called our safe castle. Gradually, the fear that had permeated our daily lives began to dissipate. We started sleeping through the night again. The children stopped asking if the bad people would come back. During this period, an unexpected ally emerged. My father's sister, Aunt Maria, reached out after hearing about the restraining orders. She had experienced similar financial exploitation from my father years ago and had been ostracized from the family when she refused to continue supporting him. Her validation and understanding were invaluable to my healing process. Julia's business slowly recovered as the fake reviews were removed and new, authentic, positive ones took their place. My work performance improved as the stress decreased, and I was able to focus fully on my responsibilities again. We marked the 1-year anniversary of the restraining orders with a family vacation, our first, without the cloud of anxiety hanging over us. Watching Logan and Sophia play carefree on the beach, I knew we had made the right decision, no matter how painful the process had been. 2 years have passed since we broke free from the cycle of financial abuse. The restraining orders remain in place, and our lives have transformed in ways I never thought possible. The constant anxiety that once defined our days has been replaced with a peaceful certainty about our boundaries and values. Logan and Sophia have blossomed. Their therapist recently told us they show remarkable resilience and a healthy understanding of boundaries for their ages. Logan, now 9, recently told a friend, "My dad says you can love people without giving them everything they ask for." Hearing him internalize this lesson made all the struggle worthwhile. Julia and I have grown closer through this ordeal. Facing such opposition together strengthened our partnership in ways we could not have anticipated. We have open conversations about money, boundaries, and family that many couples never have to navigate. These difficult discussions have deepened our understanding of each other and our shared values. Professionally, I have continued to advance without the constant drain of family financial demands. The money previously sent to my family now builds our children's college funds and our retirement accounts. We have also established a structured, charitable giving plan, directing funds to organizations that help families develop financial literacy and independence. We have built a new community around us, friends who understand healthy boundaries and mutual respect. Many of these connections came through support groups for people estranged from family due to financial or emotional abuse. These relationships offer the unconditional support I always hoped my family would provide. The healing process included unexpected paths. I began volunteering with financial literacy programs at community centers, helping others recognize and escape financial exploitation. Turning my painful experience into a way to help others has been deeply healing. Forgiveness has been a complex journey. I have not reconciled with my family and do not anticipate doing so, given their unwillingness to acknowledge the harm they caused. But I have found a way to forgive them internally, not to excuse their actions, but to free myself from the weight of anger and resentment. This forgiveness was for my peace, not their absolution. Through therapy and reflection, I identified patterns that allowed the exploitation to continue for so long. I recognized how my childhood experiences shaped my need for approval and fear of conflict. I learned to distinguish between genuine generosity and compliance driven by guilt and obligation. I have redefined family on my own terms. True family supports your growth, respects your boundaries, and wants what is best for you, even when that means not getting everything they want. Blood relation alone does not entitle someone to exploit your success or manipulate your emotions. This experience has transformed how Julia and I approach teaching our children about money. We have age-appropriate conversations about financial responsibility, healthy giving, and the difference between supporting someone and enabling dependency. We model charitable giving while also demonstrating the importance of securing our own financial future. Some extended family members who were not involved in the harassment have cautiously reconnected with us. These relationships, built on mutual respect rather than financial expectation, have enriched our lives. Aunt Maria has become a beloved presence, showing our children what healthy family relationships look like. The most profound lesson from this journey is understanding the difference between generosity and exploitation. True generosity comes from choice, abundance, and love, not obligation, scarcity, and fear. When giving damages the giver, it ceases to be healthy for anyone involved. If my story helped you recognize unhealthy patterns in your own relationships, please consider subscribing to this channel. Sometimes, the hardest boundaries to set are with the people we love most, but your financial and emotional well-being matters too. Share your experiences in the comments below. What boundary have you struggled to set with family? How did you finally find the courage to say no to exploitation? Remember to like this video if it resonated with you and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, choosing yourself is not selfish. It is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships must be built.